All right. Got the script and everything. Welcome back to Belmont Bunch. We're the 18th most popular Islanders.
Oh wait, Tom!
Yeah?
Didn't I tell you? The new rankings came out for Islanders-related blogs and YouTube channels.
They do those?
Yeah, Wall Street Journal.
Alright, well, let's go check it out then.
Hey, Tom! Tom! Hey, Tom, I haven't seen you in weeks. What's wrong?
Where did I go wrong? We went down.
Maybe we should do some Islanders-related content.
Welcome back to Islanders Bunch, the 19th most popular place for Islanders news and YouTube stuff. This is the Islanders Division Preview. Here's Sparky. We're going to go through the division. At 8, we have the New York Islanders. At 7, we have the Bridgeport Sound Tigers masquerading as the New York Islanders. At 6, we have the New York Islanders, but the 1990s version, but like it's still their age. But they're playing again. At 5, we have the Islanders from 1996 when the roof was leaking. At 4, we have the New York Islanders. At 3, we have the New York Islanders from last year. At 2, we have the New York Islanders from last year. At 1, we have the division-winning, Islanders division-winning, New York Islanders. New York Islanders. Let's go Islanders! Woo! All right, first I want to apologize for everything. But second, I want to start this video with a little bit of sort of a Metro Division trigger warning. Obviously, because I'm an Islanders fan, this division is probably the hardest to detach my biases from. And there's a certain team that may not have a great ranking from me that will, I mean, if I had any subscribers, would get me some flack. Speaking of flack, at 8, we have the New York Rangers. When I was doing this look through all the teams in the division, I was looking at, yes, the acquisitions, but I was also trying to detach myself from, you know, these sexy acquisitions of guys like, you know, Panarin, Trouba. I wanted to look at the team structure around that. Maybe signing guys like that could cause you to lose some depth. And for the Rangers, that's sort of where I'm going with this. Part of it is that it's rookies, you know, climbing into the lineup for the first time. And I think a bias I have is towards players that I've actually seen play. Or not that I haven't seen them play, but players that I've seen perform in the league. So with the Rangers, my biggest worry is the fact that Philip Cheadle, though he has a lot of pedigree, is going to be starting the season as the second-line center for an NHL team with playoff expectations. That's a lot to put on somebody as inexperienced as him. I know he'll have experienced Chris Kreider on the wing to start, and probably Kaapo Kakko, the second overall pick in this year's draft, who I am not actually worried about, really. I honestly think he could win the Calder this year. I think I'm going to make him my pick. We'll see. But throughout the lineup, you go through the bottom 6, and you have Strome, who has some experience, and he looked okay at points with the Rangers last year. And Mestikov has shown promise, mostly in Tampa, a little bit in New York. But he seemed to be in the coach's doghouse most of last season. So how much do they trust him in pressure situations? Vasily Kravtsov, whose name I can't say. A lot of expectations for him. Again, is there enough experience on that line? I like, you know, the idea of having maybe the third line center be somebody that's a proven vet that's been around forever, kind of getting the Mestikov and getting Kravtsov to buy into this system that the Rangers have. But I don't think I see that in Ryan Strome. And on the fourth line, Howden, Fost, Lias Anderson. It's just, part of it is it's just such a hard lineup to project when there's so many guys that are going to be making their debuts this year. But also you have to look at the blue line. And the blue line, yes, Trouba, yes, Shea. But underneath that you have Stahl, Fox, who's never played in the NHL, D'Angelo, who's okay, serviceable bottom 6. But I'm not even sure who has that last spot locked down yet. And in goal, I honestly think, Lundqvist, a lot of respect. He's a fantastic goalie, or he has been in his career for most of it. But, you're seeing a little bit a dwindling in his numbers. Georgiev was fine last year, but that's the thing. I just don't see... The first line is great, but I do think some depth may have been sacrificed. Neil Pionk might not have been as bad as everybody was saying. Obviously, Trouba's an improvement on that. But, yeah, I think they improve. Part of what I'm going to talk about in this division, I am spending a lot of time on the Rangers to, get people off my back. But I still see them as, definitely over 80 points. So that's the nature of this division. I know there's a team in this division that you would probably have thought would go behind the Rangers, but they're actually going to be the next team because they have still maybe a playoff caliber lineup, and that is the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Jackets, they were the story of the offseason. They had a Tavares scale event, not, as much in terms of what he meant to the team. I'm still crying on the inside. But Columbus, they lose Duchesne, they lose Sergei Bobrovsky, and they lose Artemi Panarin. That's okay. It's only the 3 best players on your team. It's not the end of the world. The good thing for the Jackets, they have an experienced coach in Tortorella, even though his shelf life can vary. You still have Pierre-Luc Dubois, who looks fantastic, as the first-line center. You have Josh Anderson, who's a 20-goal scorer. You have Oliver Bjorkstrand, who's a 20-goal scorer. You also have Cam Atkinson. Last year, there was a little bit of a coming-out party for Alexandre Texier, the Frenchman, and they bring in Gus Nyquist. So you have a lot of 20-goal scorers in that lineup, and you could probably say that the center group is not fantastic. Obviously, Dubois is fantastic, is great at the top of that. Wenberg may have fallen back a little bit last year to the expectations of a third-line center, but we know the ability of a second-line center is there. We'll see if it actually comes out. Boone Jenner apparently has a shot at being the third-line center right now. They have Foligno still in the bottom 6. He could score 20 if he has a really good year. Riley Nash is still there and experienced. He could be their 4th-line center. There's a lot still to like with the offensive punch of this team, even with the losses that they sustained. And on top of that, you have one of the best blue lines in the league. I've probably said that a few times. That might be a good idea for a video at some point, top 10 blue lines. They signed Werenski. They have Seth Jones, who I think is one of the best defenders in the league. Catching myself in my own cliches again. You still have Ryan Murray and David Savard, who's serviceable top 4. And then you have Marcus Nudavera, who's got expectations, which, showed promise last year in the bottom 6. And then we get to goaltending, which is the reason they're not a little bit higher up, because Korpisalo didn't really show anything in terms of being a starting goalie last year. And I know if you play the NHL video games a few years ago, he was like, you just take him in the expansion draft and he's your elite goalie. No, that's not how it worked out, unfortunately. And he's backed up by Elvis Merzlikins. I got that right. He comes over from Europe. He's shown good stuff over in Europe. We'll see if it translates, but that's the major downfall of this team at the moment is I don't know if they have a starting goalie. With that, we're going to move to the number 6 team, the New Jersey Devils. I'm going to be honest, this isn't the first time that we went over this. The Devils and the Flyers are very, very difficult to pick between for me. So I'll go through the Devils first, and then I'll talk about why I have the Flyers ahead of them.
Spoilers.
Yeah, love the first line. Nico Hischier looked great last year. He'll be flanked by a former MVP in Taylor Hall and a fantastic two-way forward in Kyle Palmieri. And Palmieri, could score 30 goals. Hall can score 30 goals. Hischier could have 60 assists. That's a very potent first line. And which moves us down to the second line, which is the area where I have a fixation that led to me redoing the 5th and 6th place teams in this division once. The second line is not quite proven enough. You have Gusev, who's never played an NHL game. You have Jack Hughes. I know he's the first overall pick in this year's draft. I know he looks great. I know, if he's got, power play time, he's playing with Hull and Palmieri and Hischier. I'm not sure if Gusev and Simmons are the guys to flank him. I know Simmons has experience, but he looked miserable last year. He looked like all the physical play. This is what we talk about with power forwards, degrade quicker. Except for Anders Lee, he'll never degrade. But Wayne Simmons did not look great last year. This is a 1-year gimme contract, or 1-year show me contract, I should say. Kind of like, we've seen it before. I don't need to reiterate Robin Lehner for the 68th time on this channel. But yeah, not sure about that second line. The Flyers have a more proven second line. There's my bias about proven stuff. The bottom six for the Devils is very productive. Boquist and Bratt did the same thing last time, are the flanks for longtime New Jersey Devil Travis Zajac, who productive when he's healthy, and when he's healthy is a big question. And on the bottom, you have Coleman, you have Zacha, you have Wood. There's promise there. Zacha, who just had a very, very interesting negotiation period with Ray Shero, which you can see that I link to in my written version of this, which you should check down below. I'll remind you at the end, just in case you forget. The defense, good top four. Obviously, PK Subban has been brought in. He'll be with either Sami Vatanen or Will Butcher, who's got a fun name. Damon Severson is still there. So, proven top four. Ty Smith, rookie, but he could be playing with Andy Green. Andy Green, the captain. Andy Green, a lot of experience. Also being paid a lot of money right now. I like seeing rookies be brought into the system with a vet, and what better situation can he get than working with the captain who's been in the league forever. That moves us to goaltending, and you have Corey Schneider and Mackenzie Blackwood. Blackwood showed really good promise last year, and there's been pedigree there. People have seen him perform amazingly in the minors, and he looked good last year. Corey Schneider, a little bit questionable. I have seen stuff in this preseason that would make me think that he could have a little bit of a resurgence this year. But yeah, you look at that pairing, and it's a little bit questionable. We'll see. It'll work itself out, as all this does. The thing I got fixated on was the second line. It's possible Gusev is not good. We'll see. But yeah, that'll lead us into the fifth team. And we have the Philadelphia Flyers, who, once again, I want to reiterate, as you've seen, I'm trying not to be moved too much by these offseason, these sexy headline-grabbing moves, because you have to remember, even the teams who haven't added, if they had a good infrastructure there's no reason why they can't still be good. And the Flyers are kind of my poster child for that. There's another poster child on this list that you are probably surprised hasn't already occurred, but this kind of goes to my thesis for this year, which is good teams find a way. The Flyers last year were not a good team, but a lot of that was due to very, very historically bad circumstances, especially in the crease. They went through 8 goalies, the first team ever to do that in one season. But at the end of it, they came out with finally Carter Hart. Finally, not as in, oh my God, they've been holding him in the minors forever, but they finally were like, oh my God, we need to try something. Let's go to our top prospect, our top goalie prospect, maybe the top goalie prospect in the world, outside of Ilya Sorokin, of course, New York Islanders stuff. The Flyers have Carter Hart to back end them. They have Brian Elliott, who is about 1,000 years old, so he has a lot of experience and should slot in fine at the backup. You have defense that's probably due for a bounce back in, you have Gostisbehere, you have Provorov, who's newly re-signed, and they'll be joined by the veteran acquisitions of Niskanen and Braun, so they can help young guys like Sanheim, Myers, Haig. This is, again, my defensive bias coming out in terms of there's defensive depth. There are young guys who are sprinkled in with veterans, and also you've got 2 guys in your prime. It's kind of like a perfect mix. Two guys in your prime, Gostisbehere and Provorov, two guys that have been around the league, and Niskanen and Braun. And now, actually, three guys that are young, Haig, Sanheim, and Philippe Myers. I am a Frenchman. Rounding out the defense, so there's depth there. You move up to the forwards, and this is kind of the deciding factor in me putting the Flyers just ahead of the Devils. Proven players who have played together. First line, Sean Couturier, Warrior, Travis Konechny, feisty small player who finds ways to score, and Claude Giroux, who is just a playmaking mastermind. And then the second line, even though Hayes, yes, he's being overpaid. It sounds like I've been talking about this a lot, and that's only because I have. It doesn't necessarily mean, it's not going to have like a negative effect on the ice. You know, it's a very interesting contract, if you want to call it that. But he will be surrounded with JVR, James Van Riemsdyk, and Jakub Voracek. So guys that have been there, guys that have done it, guys that have proven that they can score in this league. Kevin Hayes has done the same. What keeps them out of the playoffs is the bottom six can be Raffle and Lawton are there for experience, joined by maybe Farabee, Lindblom. I'm looking at a guy that says Twarnski. That could just be a complete blind spot for me, but it looks like a lot of inexperience on the bottom six. And I know you have Farabee and Lindblom who have shown stuff. Lindblom probably being more ready to go, I guess, even though Farabee has more pedigree. Not as proven, not a lot of experience to guide them through. So that's where maybe that bottom six isn't productive enough to keep up with the top six. And if the top six falters, or if the defense doesn't have a positive bounce back, this team gets stuck in neutral again with a slight improvement, and they're stuck in fifth. Just outside the playoffs, which leads me into the first wild card. Controversially, somehow, at 4 with the first wild card. Cut that. At 4, somehow controversially, are the Pittsburgh Penguins. You know, I've been looking at a lot of season previews, and a lot of people seem to think that because Artemi Panarin is on the Rangers, and because Jack Hughes is on the Devils, and PK Subban's on the Devils, that this means the Penguins are somehow not good. As if those things can't all be true at the same time. The Penguins still boast one of the deepest scoring lineups in the league offensively. Jake Gensel, Sidney Crosby, and I guess Hornquist on the top line. And the second line center is Evgeny Malkin. There's no better 1-2 in the league. And I was going to say maybe the Capitals could say something about that, but we'll get to that. Galchenyuk comes in, replacing Kessel. It's not a huge downgrade. Remember, Kessel played parts of the last couple seasons on the third line at points. So, you know, Galchenyuk might be on the left of Malkin, and Malkin as proven a scorer as there is, and Hornquist on the right. And then the bottom six, Bjugstad has played top 6 minutes with other teams. He's bottom 6 here. Jared McCann, same. Brandon Tanev comes in at a I'm just going to call it a stupid contract. I think you could probably tell I've been a little bit wishy-washy with some stuff. I'm not going to be about this. This is a stupid contract. It's like a weird term and way too much for a bottom 6 forward. But whatever. He's still a good player. That's what I mean about, like, I don't want to take the contract and put it on the player and be like, oh, that means this player sucks now. That's not the case. The bottom line is rounded out with Teddy Bluger, who had a cup of coffee with the team last year as the fourth line center. You know, just being part of a system with, you know, Rust and Simone. He's going to be fine. This is as deep a forward group as there is in the league. So they're going to be elite scoring wise, as they were last year. And defensively, I know Jack Johnson and Eric Goodbranson are bad. They're bad. They're not good. They're not good defenders.
Damn, tell me how you really feel, Tom.
Okay, and that's not even talking about their contracts suck, but they also can't defend. Come at me. So I just trashed the bottom pairing. That's only because it's terrible. But you have to remember, there's still a potent top 6 there, top 4. Not top 6, because they're terrible! Marcus Pettersson with Justin Schultz is a good offensive defenseman. Chris Letang, Mr. I pinch and let the Islanders score on me in the playoffs. Thank you for that. Will be with Brian Dumoulin. Experienced top 4 unit. I mean, experienced top 6, but the bottom pair is bad experience. I don't think I've hammered this home enough yet now. But yeah, a little bit lacking defensively. They could, I think they were right around the league average last year. It could be worse. In goal, this kind of levels it out. In goal, Matt Murray's great. Casey DeSmith. They have Tristan Jarry in the minors. They have 3 NHL caliber goalies. So that could, save them from the 2 players that I've previously mentioned. Still a good team. Let's not pretend, because other teams have made acquisitions, that this team is no longer good. Let's not forget that they finished 3rd in the division last year and were, battling for home ice with the Islanders. But, the Islanders are a better team, so they beat them out for it. Segue. That leads us to number 3. At 3, we finally have New York Islanders content on this Islander channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So with the Islanders, obviously the big question is, can they score enough? And I'm going to evade that question and start with the defense. You have the exact same defensive group with the same exact coach, obviously, and the same system. You have a team that went from the first team ever, first team in 100 years, basically ever, the first team to go from 31st in defense to 1st in over 100 years. And you have the same exact unit. So why can't they do something, not saying the same thing again, I'm saying something similar. Can they retain top 5 defensive stats? If they retain top 5 defensive stats and they slightly improve on offense, they can probably get in again, which is kind of where I'm going with this, hence playoffs. Let's go over the defense because I'm avoiding the offense for now. You have Adam Pelech, Ryan Pulock, Devon Toews, Scott Mayfield. Not very sexy names. I know. They're very Canadian. They're not big names, but they're names that maybe we will start to see when they start putting the Islanders on national TV, which they refuse to do. But structure is there. They buy into the system. They know when to pinch. They know when to hold back. I saw it the other day, even in the preseason. Ryan Pulock he's with the system. He's ready to go. He looks like he could start, like opening night was the other night. He was already there. Nick Leddy, same thing. Nick Leddy looks like he's already there. Everyone looks very focused on the defensive end, probably because Barry Trotz has talked about he doesn't want a complacency to set in after such an accomplishment from last year. And part of what helps that is Noah Dobson. He's like the specter above the rest of the defensive core, where it's like, hey, I can get traded because this kid's coming in and he looks amazing. And he's been playing 20 minutes a night. He looks fantastic. He's 18 years old and he's ready to go in this league. That's special. And it's, guys like Thomas Hickey and Johnny Boychuk, maybe Nick Leddy, depends on the situation, trade targets right now because Noah Dobson has absolutely earned a spot on this team. So that being said, I'm now going to go back to the question I was skirting earlier on, which is the scoring. They were 21st in scoring last year. Listen, I'm not saying they're going to go top 10. I think they can slightly improve. Part of that is with the idea in the back of my mind of trade, which I think has to happen at some point. I know Lou has been avoiding it the whole time he's been the Islanders GM. He's made one trade, and it was like a minor trade that got us Matt Martin back. The top line is going to produce. You have 2 players on that line that can score, maybe 3, that can score 30 goals. You have Lee, Eberle on the wings, and Barzal down the middle. There's no reason why that line shouldn't be fantastic, other than if the other lines don't produce and the other team can focus on that first line, that could be an issue. That's where Brock Nelson is one of the most important players on this team right now, because he needs to keep providing the fantastic depth of scoring that he did last year. And I think he can. Once again, he looks very connected to the system in the preseason. He'll have Josh Bailey coming back, my dad. He'll have on the wing either Ho-Sang or Beauvillier or Dal Cole, giving the young guys a shot. I think it's really important that they have Bailey and Brock with them. So you have the mix of experience and youth. The bottom six, Clutterbuck had surgery in the offseason. He looks a lot more comfortable skating. He can play his physical brand of hockey again, and that should get that E equals MC square line back, to where we've seen it in the past. The crash line, the most slow forward unit in the league, but they're just so all over you. Everywhere you go, they're all over you. They're fantastic in pinning teams deep in their own zone and making them exhausted getting out. And they could do that again with a healthy Clutterbuck being able to keep up with these guys. And now we get to the I almost said the combination line. Maybe the most interesting line on the Islanders this year, the third, where you have Derek Brassard, who's coming off some down years, but has looked pretty spry in the preseason because he's been playing with youth. He's been playing with Wahlstrom, Dalcol, Beauvillier, Hosang, and Komarov probably slots in for opening night on that right wing because he's such a good penalty killer. And I know he's slow as all hell, but we love him. Don't say anything else about him. He's Uncle Leo. Don't remind me about the penalty he took in the playoffs. So that line will be very interesting to watch. But all in all, listen, Beauvillier could be in for a big year. He signed a bridge contract, so there's incentive to maximize his payday. He'll be playing with proven veterans in Brock and Bailey. So the offense, and you had a lot of guys last year that had down years. You had Eberle, it took forever for him to really get going, and Lee at points disappeared. This year, I think Trotz at the helm gets these guys going again, reminds these guys, hey, we can also score. And in goal, I trust the goalie coaching. They did wonders with Robin Lehner. They can do the same with Semyon Varlamov. Thomas Greiss is still there. They're good, hence playoffs. So that's good for the Islanders. Let's go to number 2. The team that eliminated the Islanders last year, we have the Hurricanes. Carolina has had, they just had a big trade the other day. They traded Justin Falk. I would have wanted them to get a forward back, or, not wanted because I'm an Islanders fan, but I would have thought they would want to get a little bit more scoring, but then I looked at their scoring stats from last year. Not half bad. They were league average, and that was with rookie Andrei Svechnikov only scoring 20 goals, and that was his rookie year, so I think he's primed to really help take over this offense and push it up a notch. And you have Sebastian Aho re-signed long-term, playing alongside him, and you have the acquisition of Ryan Dzingel, who could slot into the first line. So forward-wise, they've lost nothing, and they've added Ryan Dzingel. It's pretty good. Martin Necas, their top prospect, will be graduating this year. Necas will be joined by Eric Haula, the newly acquired Eric Haula, who's a veteran, who's good defensively. He's a good two-way player. And probably Warren Fogle or Brock McGinn. So there's experience there. There's playoff experience there. So Necas should have a lot of guys to look up to in the locker room to help him grow. And the fourth line last year was very potent. Walmark, Martinook, McGinn, they can score as a fourth line, which is pretty impressive. And, I kind of skipped over the second line, but Jordan Staal and Teuvo Teravainen are still very productive. Teravainen, who could see himself on the top line a lot. A lot of mixing and matching they can do. Very, very solid offense. I almost forgot about El Nino, probably because I tried to forget that the Islanders got rid of him for nothing. Actually, it was Cal Clutterbuck. I'm going to take that back. But still, Niederreiter can still score 20 goals. You have Svechnikov growing. The offense is going to be good. Not fantastic, but good. I think a lot of people probably see this as like Islanders, but improved. And you know what? They swept us in the playoffs and they figured us out, kind of. So I guess I'm buying into that. Defensively, one of the deepest blue lines in the league, probably them in Nashville. They add Jake Gardner. They subtract Justin Falk, but they also add Joel Edmondson to play with Hayden Fleury, not Fury. Hayden Fleury on the bottom of the defensive pair. So experience, Stanley Cup experience, helping out pedigree in Fleury. And then the top four, Gardner, Dougie Hamilton, who's going to score like 15 to 20 goals even as a defenseman. You have Slavin, who's fantastic defensively. You're talking about a pretty good unit there. My biggest question is in goal, Mrazek and Reimer now. McElhaney was fantastic last year, so I probably would have liked to bring him back if I was a Canes fan. But Mrazek's numbers were actually pretty good. He struggled a little bit in the playoffs against the Islanders, and then McElhaney came in, and then we were done. With a good defensive unit in front of you, it's positive for the goalie. So you have a decent goalie in Mrazek, and you might get very good numbers because of how good the defense is in front of him. So yeah, I don't know about Reimer as the backup. That could be an issue. We'll see about that. So that kind of is the only issue I see with this team right now, in my opinion. Brendan Moore did a great job in his first year as the coach, and I see it continuing. So yeah, that's going to lead us to number one. Last but not least, but they're in first. We have the Washington Capitals, the boring pick. Have a good night, everyone. I don't know how much I need to even talk about their offense. Like I alluded to earlier, if there's a top two centers to compete against the Penguins, it would be Evgeny Kuznetsov when he's not doing cocaine, and Nicholas Backstrom, who's like perennially one of the better playmakers in the game. Ovechkin, Tom Wilson. What do I gotta say? I'm just saying names. You probably need me to say more, so I'll say more. They still have a very strong goalie tandem. I wouldn't have known that Phoenix Copley, with such a Bond villain type name, would be as solid as he was last year. Braden Holtby's actually due for probably bounce back year. He kind of down year last year. Part of it was, talking about the blue line, Michael Kempney went down late in the season. I know there were points earlier in the season where they looked pretty rough too, but Stanley Cup hangover. They definitely had a Stanley Cup hangover. Probably an actual hangover. They were drinking so much in the offseason, but they earned it. They won the Stanley Cup the year prior. So scoring-wise, I went from defense to scoring. But defense, John Carlson's still there. John Carlson's one of the best defenders in the league. You have Kempney. I'm not super high on Siegenthal-Gudas pair, and that just sounds like nonsense words, but I swear those are people. You have Orlov still. There's production from the blue line. The forwards are so good that you don't need that much production from the blue line anyway, so they can focus on their defensive responsibilities. TJ Oshie is still there. He's still productive. I hope he's okay after that tumble he took in the postseason. Jacob Vrana is a 20-goal scorer. TJ Oshie, 20-goal scorer. There's a lot of 20-goal scorers. They might have a 20-goal scorer on their third line. Richard Panik is coming from Arizona, had 14 goals with Arizona last year on a team that had no offense. And he scored 14 goals. So you would figure he goes to a team. His line mates, Lars Eller's always productive. Carl Hagelin's a speedster. Yeah, I could see 20 goals for him. And, the fourth line, Leipzig, Dowd, Hathaway, be a bit of a crash line, but Dowd showed some scoring prowess last year. So it's just a deep team with a good coach. I think it took... Last year, they won the division, so it's not like there was a growth period of figuring it out. But they struggled a little bit last year, and now maybe those struggles don't last as long, being in the system for a full year, and now getting to start over in it. This is the Metro Division preview. Playoff line right there. Comment below. Let me know how wrong I am about the Rangers specifically and the Devils. I think we're going to skip the one sentence or the one word or phrase or whatever you want to call it thing for this video, just because I feel like I went really in depth with some of these teams. Probably get what I'm talking about at this point, especially Jack Johnson and Eric Branson, who are bad players. I don't know if I said that. I hope I don't ever interview those guys. Can you imagine if I interviewed those guys? Hey, nobody show them this video. Okay, so yeah, these are the playoff teams. These are the not playoff teams. This is a whiteboard.
So Tom, you talked a lot about structure between the Rangers, Flyers, and Devils. Mm-hmm. So can you just talk about why they're ordered the way they are?
Yeah, so the Flyers, I think their infrastructure, that meaning their top 6 forwards and the fact they have 7 NHL caliber defensemen. The Devils do also have They have six NHL caliber defensemen. There's more experience with the Flyers. Devils are bringing in a rookie this year in Ty Smith. Even though, as I gushed, he'll have the team's captain showing him the ropes this year. Flyers have a perfect balance of youth and experience coming in. The Rangers, for me, the youth is overwhelming the amount of experience. So that's what makes it very volatile. This division is incredibly volatile because the Rangers could make the playoffs and the Islanders could, fall out of it. That's kind of every team in this division has the potential to make the playoffs. Yes, even the Blue Jackets. I think I went over that enough. The Blue Jackets part. I do think there's structure there to have the losses be sort of offset. Back to your question, the Rangers. There are too many question marks. They have someone who's has not shown enough production in the NHL to warrant moving up a line, but they are moving him up a line because they need Philip Cheadle. He only had 23 points last year, and you want more out of the second line center for your team. And they have Hayes, and they have Jack Hughes, and Jack Hughes has more potential than Philip Cheadle. And so that's kind of where that landed. I could be completely wrong. The Rangers' defense right now looks like a dumpster fire, and that could bite me at the end of the season. Shea and Trouba are their top two defensemen. Both have experience. Both are good. After that, there is not a lot at all. There's a guy that's played in the NHL and just been okay, and Anthony DeAngelo. Adam Fox has never played in the NHL at all, and he's very young. This is his rookie year, so I don't know what to expect out of him. But he might have to play top 4 minutes, which is ridiculous for a rookie. And Mark Stahl is not good. So that's the Rangers defense has 2 good defensemen. The Devils has 6, and the Flyers has 7. And the Flyers have the most offense out of all those teams. So that's kind of where that goes.
But which one has the best defenseman in the league?
Oh, the New York Islanders. So remember to like and pulverize that subscribe button. And remember the written version of this is in the link below. We'll cut that. Get ready for opening night. We're almost there. This is the last weekend without hockey. So here we go. And Ranger fans, please don't kill me.